They came at dawn when the twin suns of Orion 4 burned red across the horizon, a light beautiful enough to frame horror. The Velthari called it a necessary demonstration. Humanity called it a massacre. Orion was a peaceful colony, a garden world filled with scientists, children, and dreamers, not soldiers. It was one of humanity's brightest jewels, a living testament to what peace could build, and that made it a perfect target for the Velthari Empire. Without warning, their fleet descended, obsidian hulls like shards of night. Orbital bombardment followed. Oceans boiled, cities turned to glass, millions vanished in a storm of plasma fire. The Velthari's flagship hovered above the ruins, broadcasting across open channels, their voice full of derision. "Humans," they said, "your defiance ends here. Kneel before the masters of the void, and perhaps we'll leave your ashes in peace." But there were no human warships to answer. No fleets, no defense, only silence and smoke rising to the heavens. The Velthari commander watched the destruction from his bridge, wings folding in satisfaction. To them, this was how the galaxy worked. Dominance through terror. They called it teaching compliance, and they believed humanity would kneel. The Empire's feast news of the massacre spread fast across the galactic network. The Velthari broadcasted the footage, proud of their brutality. In the great halls of their empire, the nobles feasted, laughing as images of burning human cities played on the walls. "They will sue for peace," one admiral smirked, raising his glass. "They always do." "They are soft," said another. "They traded their claws for comfort long ago." They mocked Earth, calling it a relic of the past, a world of poets, farmers, and diplomats. They said humanity had forgotten how to fight. In their arrogance, they ignored the silence that followed the attack. No messages of outrage, no threats, no demands, just quiet. To the Velthari, that quiet meant surrender. To humanity, it meant calculation. The silence before the storm. For 6 months, there was nothing. No movement from Earth. No response from the Terran coalition. But in the void beyond Sol, deep within the dark folds of space where no alien eyes ever lingered, something was stirring. Humanity wasn't idle. Humanity was preparing. In secret shipyards orbiting Neptune, the old war codes were unlocked. The fleets that hadn't seen the stars in a century were pulled from stasis. Titans of steel and fire were reborn. Dreadnoughts whose hulls bore names whispered in legend. Vigilant Dawn. Ares Ascendant, Retribution. Across Earth's colonies, recruitment calls went out. Not for soldiers, but for Avengers. Entire systems volunteered. Pilots, Marines, engineers. Even miners from the belt swore blood oaths. "They think we'll kneel?" said Admiral Havelock, commanding the new human armada. "Then we'll show them how humanity prays, through vengeance." Every signal, every engine test, was masked by deep space interference fields. When the Velthari's spies tried to listen, they heard nothing but silence, until one night, a single message broke across the galactic network. Sent from Earth, translated into every major tongue. "You've mistaken our silence for submission. You'll soon learn it was mercy." The first strike. The Velthari never saw them coming. Their outpost on Calaris Prime was the first to vanish, a world encircled by defense satellites, gone in a flash of blue-white light. The only recording was from a distant probe, a shadow passing before the sun, followed by blinding annihilation. Hours later, their border fleets began disappearing. No distress calls, no debris, just empty space. Panic spread across the Empire. Patrols doubled, fleets regrouped. Still, the attacks continued, precise, untraceable, merciless. When they finally captured a fragment of a human transmission, it was short, grim, and cold. For Orion, within a week, 9 Velthari systems were gone. Entire sectors went dark. Humanity didn't conquer. They erased. The gathering of shadows, the Velthari High Council convened in desperation. They deployed their grand armadas, thousands of ships, each one capable of raising a world. They believed numbers could protect them, but the humans didn't fight where they were expected. They appeared like ghosts, hitting supply lines, ambushing convoys, hacking comms, and vanishing into the void. Every ship lost was another whisper of fear. Then, at the edge of their empire, human fleets emerged. Not stealthy, not hidden, but vast, gleaming, and silent. The Ares Ascendant led them, its hull reflecting the light of dying suns. Around it, thousands of Terran warships formed a wall of iron. Their message to the Velthari fleet was simple. "You demanded our surrender. We accept, in fire, The breaking of worlds. The first battle was over in 3 hours. The Velthari Armada, once the terror of 100 worlds, broke against the human onslaught like waves against cliffs. Human dreadnoughts unleashed weapons the galaxy had never seen. Kinetic lances that split cruisers in half. Plasma storms that vaporized fleets. Drones swarmed like living nightmares, cutting through shields and flesh alike. The Velthari tried to retreat. Humanity didn't allow it. No survivors, ordered Admiral Havelock. No more lessons needed. Every ship that fled was hunted down. Every world that aided them was silenced. Entire planets fell under orbital fire. But not for conquest, only retribution. The humans didn't occupy, didn't enslave. They simply ended the Velthari's reach, one system at a time. The galaxy watched, horrified. Empires that had mocked Earth now fell silent. Their ambassadors recalled their fleets, praying humanity's wrath would pass them by. But vengeance doesn't pause for witnesses. The day the suns went dark, in the final stage of the war, humanity targeted the Velthari homeworld. The planet, Valthar Prime, was ringed by defense platforms, protected by entire moons turned into weapons. They were confident again, believing even humanity couldn't breach their heart. They were wrong. The human fleet arrived like a moving storm. The sky over Valthar Prime darkened, not from clouds, but from ships, dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, each bearing the sigil of the Terran Phoenix. The Velthari broadcast one final message. You cannot destroy an empire with hate alone. The reply came through every frequency, cold as the void. We're not here to destroy you with hate. We're here to remind you what you awakened. Then the bombardment began. Orbital strikes tore the crust from continents. Defense moons shattered under concentrated rail fire. The Velthari's suns dimmed behind a cloud of ash and molten debris. And as their world burned, humanity spoke one last time. You wanted us on our knees. You never saw us bow. The aftermath of vengeance, when it was over, the Velthari Empire no longer existed. Their fleets were gone, their worlds uninhabitable. The few who survived scattered, fleeing into the galactic rim, refugees haunted by their own arrogance. Humanity didn't pursue them. The retribution was complete. The Terran coalition pulled its fleets back to Sol. The shipyards went silent again, and the great dreadnoughts drifted into orbit like watchful gods, sleeping once more. But across the stars, the galaxy whispered of the world that waited in silence, that never blustered, never begged, and when wronged, struck with divine fury. Children on distant worlds grew up hearing the story of Orion, of how the Velthari mocked humanity, and how the humans answered in fire. To most, it was a warning. To some, a legend. To the survivors of the Velthari, it was a nightmare. They spoke of the human fleets that blotted out suns, of voices that came through comms like ghosts from the deep, of the cold precision with which Earth delivered its judgment. They do not bow, one survivor wrote. Before vanishing into exile, they kneel only to bury their dead, and rise as vengeance itself. The eternal silence years passed. The galaxy rebuilt, cautiously. Empires redrew their borders, trade resumed, and peace returned. But it was a fragile peace, bound by fear. Every species knew. There were lines that must never be crossed again. No one touched a human colony. No one insulted Earth, because even in silence, humanity was watching. The Terran banners hung in orbit around their worlds, black and silver, bearing a single phrase in bold letters, translated into every known language. We bow to none. And so, the galaxy learned the truth the hard way, that humanity's strength isn't in their weapons, nor their worlds, nor even their armies. It lies in their resolve, their refusal to kneel to tyranny, no matter the cost. The Velthari thought humans would kneel. They never saw us bow, and from that day onward, not a single empire dared to test that resolve again, because when humans stand, the stars themselves tremble. End of transmission. Narrator's final note. When the galaxy looks to Earth now, they don't see a fragile species of flesh and dreams. They see the ashes of Orion, the ghosts of vengeance that lit suns aflame, and the quiet warning that echoes through every corner of space. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We do not bow. And in the eternal silence that follows, every empire remembers. There are many powers among the stars, but only one humanity.